We're live. Again, excited to have you back. Welcome to Sandler Training Clinic number 2. We're going to be with you for about half. I'm Antonio.
Hi, I'm Carlos.
We're going to be with you for about 30 minutes or so. Thank you so much for joining in last week in high numbers, and I'm hoping you're going to have come back. So I'm hoping you're all there. Before we get going, I promised to say hello to Charlotte. So hello, Charlotte. And so here's what this is about. If you're new to, if you didn't join us last week, where were you? Basically, we're going to talk about business development challenges, sales challenges, business growth challenges, anything that you're kind of struggling with in terms of growing your business. That's what we're going to kind of do for the next 30 minutes or so. We're Sandler Training, and I'm going to ask Carlos to talk about what Sandler Training. I feel like I've been doing all the talking already. Carlos, Sandler Training.
Hi, Facebook world. We're Sandler Training Miami. Sandler Training. We focus here in Miami on helping companies and business owners achieve real stretch ambition. How do we do that? Well, we focus myopically, I suppose, on the sales line, the revenue line, top line of a business. And in doing that, how do we do that? We help sales teams, sales people, sales managers really get to grips with their commercial strategy. We help them with the behaviors, attitudes, and techniques that go behind a killer sales force and a killer salesperson. And we've been doing this for many years now, helping local companies, national companies, and even global companies right out of Miami. Is that fair?
That's very fair. So please join in. If you have any questions, just type them in. Jubelka's camera person today, say hello.
Hi everyone.
So Juby's running this show for us as usual. So she'll be able to read the questions as they come up. And we'll deal with whatever comes through. We have some questions that we've had already from last week's show that if nobody's brave enough to join in out there, we'll jump to those. Have we got anything yet?
Yes. Oh no.
Ah, okay. So, well, let's get straight to, what didn't we get to last week? Judy?
All right, so Andrea from Miami asks that I'm having issues with one of my sales team members. He is not hitting his monthly quota. I do not want to let him go. How can I help him?
Nice. Okay, so quota. Do you know who was that?
Andrea. That was Andrea.
So Andrea. First of all, I love the question. I think there's. Before I get into the answer, I just want to take a second to recognize the question, because what you were saying, I think, or what you're saying, what I heard was, you've got somebody, they're not hitting their quota, and you're asking how you can help him, right? So in other words, it feels to me, maybe it's just the way that the question that arrived in my ears, it feels to me that you're taking some responsibility, or you're recognizing that the solution is going to be involve two people, Andrea, you and him. So I just wanted to take a quick second to talk about that. So I'm going to jump on the board. So I think the answer to this may lie in this, Andrea. It's could you just scooch?
Yeah,
just
sure.
a touch, right? I got told off last week for speaking to the board, so I'm going to keep turning around, Andrea. This may be the answer, and if it's not, please contact us, somehow. Send us an email. Have a look on our website, by the way. So it's www.absolute.sandler.com, right? Is there a link anywhere, Juby, that they can see that?
Yes, it will be added.
Oh, that will be added. Okay, great. So, let me give, I don't know your details, but let me see if this helps you. If I were to ask, right, 100 sales guys, and I'll give you my answer, then maybe Carlos will give his in a couple of minutes, but if I asked 100 sales guys and said, describe for me, this is sales people, right, sales professionals, not the managers, Andrea, but But you can kind of join in and see if you agree with this. But if I asked 100 sales professionals, describe the ideal day, right? The ideal work day, right? And they probably say something like this. The first thing that they'd like to be doing, or the activity that they would like to be doing most of, let me put it that way, is, let's say, client files, right? Working on client files.
Servicing. Yeah.
Yeah, client files, kind of servicing clients. In other words, they've got some clients that need some stuff from them, and what they would call a good day is doing lots of that. And then if I said to them, okay, but let's assume that that didn't take your whole day, what else would you be doing? And I think that a lot of them would then say, well, if I wasn't doing that, then I'd like to be having what we call closing meetings, right? Final meetings. And what closing meetings, what I mean by closing meetings is, you know, you've been to maybe some discovery meetings, you've been talking to new prospects, and this is kind of the meeting where you're making a decision. You're presenting your products and services. You're talking about the proposal, and you're agreeing the deal. So that's what I'm going to be calling closing meetings, where you're actually meeting to close for business, and maybe sign an agreement. And then if I said to them, okay, well, what if there was any time left after that? Then they'll probably say, well, then if it wasn't for the closing meetings, it would be like the first meetings, the discovery meetings, right? So let's say discovery meetings. That's where they're meeting brand new people for the first time, shaking hands and saying hello, right? So they'd be doing some of those. And then if I said, okay, well, what if there was still some time left after that? They'd probably then say, I guess, well, if I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing that, then probably doing some prospecting, right? So number 4, let's say prospecting. And then if I said, okay, well, if you weren't, if there was some time left after that, then it'd be all the kind of the admin, all the paperwork and all of that kind of stuff. Right. So if I said to 100 sales guys, describe your ideal day, ideal work day, Andrea, they'd probably say, number 1, some client files, number 2, some closing meetings, number 3, some discovery meetings, and number 4, some prospecting. And probably 99 people out of 100 say that's what an ideal day would look like. Here's the thing. The reason that they do it this way round, and the reason that they spend most time here, they think, is because this is closest to the money, right? They think, I'll do this, and when I finish doing some of this, we can invoice somebody, or we can basically get paid for what we do. So at Sandler, we say, yeah, this is a good list. Problem is, the list is the wrong way round, and you need to spin that list all the way round. So if one of your team isn't hitting his monthly quota, what I'm going to suggest to you, Andrea, and I hope I'm near the mark, is your guy probably isn't spending enough time prospecting, because that's how you get new clients and start filling the funnel. And what he should be doing, his order of priority should be prospecting, number 1, discovery meetings, number 2, qualifying very hard, closing meetings, and then time left for doing this. So what's the magic piece I'm going to finish with? The magic piece I'm going to finish with is, Andrea, you've got to help him as his manager. You've got to help him organize his time, because that's the one thing that none of us can manage, right? It's our most precious resource. We have to block time for all of these things, and we have to put time aside for prospecting, and make sure that every day, that there is certain time put aside for prospecting. This fills the funnel, right? We think this is the closest to the money, but this is only the closest to the short-term money. This is closest to the long-term money. So maybe maybe do a 180 on what he's doing right now, and see whether or not that helps fix his quota issues. Does that make sense? We got anything to add to that?
Yeah, a little bit.
I hope that helped. If it didn't, just say so.
And it's aligned to what Antonio said, I think, is what I'm going to add, is I got a sense from the question that when you say they're behind quota, that your guy's behind quota, I got a sense that this is what's being measured. The quota that you're talking about is a dollar revenue quota. That's typically what people say when they quota. And at Sandler, we come at it, as Antonio said, differently. And instead of thinking about what is essentially a lagging indicator, the dollars reflect work that was done yesterday, that was done last week, that was done last month. That's a lagging indicator. Instead of looking at lagging indicators, we like to look at leading indicators. Leading indicators are closing meetings, discovery meetings, and most importantly, prospecting meetings. The quota that we would like to see in any of our clients is a quota of behavior rather than a quota of dollars. Because once you understand the behavior, once your process is good, there's a process for prospecting, and then there is a sales process that take potential customers through a funnel until they are closed and they are clients or customers, that turns into dollars. Once that system is in place, well then it actually can't fail. Then you have to only look at your prospecting behaviors and you look at your techniques at this level. It can't actually be behind quota if you're not behind your prospecting behavioral quota. And so I think we come at this from behavior, and I think very importantly, we have to recognize that if somebody's not hitting their numbers, it's usually one of three things. Either the system is wrong, the prospecting system or the system they're using to close clients. Or if the system's right, it's a technical issue. Technical issue is that your sales guy doesn't know what to do, doesn't know what to say. Or it's a conceptual issue. A conceptual issue is somebody that's operating a good system, that has been told and knows what to say and what to do, but actually feels bad doing it, because people won't do things that they feel bad when they do it. So we believe that we can boil all these issues down to having the right system, understand from a technical point of view what needs to be said and what needs to be done, and then finally from a conceptual point of view, feel good while you do it. I think that's fair?
Cool, perfect.
Okay,
Andrea, just something else occurred to me whilst Carlos was talking, and then, you know, you've had a lot of airtime. Well done, you. We got a ton of books at Sandler, but maybe one or two of these might be able to help. So, Sales Coach's Playbook, that'll certainly help you, Andrea, in terms of how do I coach my individuals to higher performance. So that's certainly worth considering putting on your Christmas present list if you've been good, and Santa's going to bring you one of those. So you can get all of these on Amazon. So the Sales Coach's Playbook, Breaking Through the Performance Code, maybe one. If not that, then maybe this one, which is Accountability, the Sandler Way by Hamish Knox. Great guy. This is a really good read for managers, keeping their people's feet to the flames and making sure they're doing what they're doing, including the managers. So that's a good one to maybe consider. If it's, as Carlos and I were saying, maybe it's a prospecting issue, John Rosso's book, Prospecting the Sandler Way, a 30-day proven program for stress-free lead development. So maybe that's worth a read. Or maybe it's a whole mindset thing, and then this book will be the perfect solution for that, which is Succeed the Sandler Way. There's 14 stories, 14 tales of success. And if your individual is behind quota, maybe because they've got an attitude issue, maybe a belief issue, then this will certainly help with that. We've got tons of other books which you can see. Go to www.absolute.sandler.com and have a look at our free resources, downloadable materials, and also have a look at the books that are available. There's like 20 books available, but these 4 came to mind for maybe helping you. Have we done that one, I think?
To death.
To death. All right, Andrea, I hope that helps. Juby, what's next?
Robert from one of our Sandler workshops asked, I have a meeting with a prospect coming up, but our last meeting he kept trying to haggle my price. How can I close without dropping my price?
Should we take a moment also to explain the purpose of these sessions?
Go.
Yeah. These
Robert,
Facebook.
you're going to have to wait a minute, Robert.
So 1 second, Robert. We're at the time when Jabelka's the director here, and Jabelka tells us 15 minutes in we have to remind our audience, our Facebook Live audience, why it is we're doing this. These Facebook Live sessions are designed purely as a sales clinic. We deal with salespeople, sales managers, CEOs, and their sales issues every day. 10, 15 hours a day each, we deal with these issues. We're a great resource for you. Please, if you've got a question, you please populate the chat box. Send our questions in. Jubelka is the master of ceremonies.
Give us thumbs up.
Give us lots of thumbs up.
Give us those.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay.
Give us those.
And send your questions in. If we can't get to them today, we promise we will catch up on in future podcasts. Not podcasts. What are these? Facebook Live sessions. And please reach out to us offline if there are specific questions.
When's our next session?
It's every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so the question, Robert, remind us, Jubelka, what was Robert's question?
I have a meeting with the prospect coming up, but at our last meeting, he kept trying to haggle my price. How can I close without dropping my price?
So interesting.
There's about 50 answers to this one.
There's 50 answers to this, and I think whenever a client of ours brings to us a problem, they'll say to us, a problem very like this, Robert, where a client will say, here's what happened, what do I do now? I've got bad news for you, Robert. There's usually very little that can be done looking forward. In reality, nearly every one of these is an issue that was raised in the past, and we have to move backwards and say, how did this issue come about? What was it in your process, Robert, that allowed this issue to come up? And what lesson can we take into the next sales call? So really, the main advice and help that I'm going to be able to give is what happens next time to make sure this doesn't become an issue again. But I am going to try and give you a little guidance for this particular issue, because you are where you are, right? I mean, you are where you are. You've got a guy, you're dealing with a prospect, and the prospect is beating you up on price. I think going backwards, if this is something that happens a lot to you, Robert, I think that we're a big believer in qualifying hard and closing easy. And most salespeople spend a lot of time in their process, which is a very light qualification process, followed by a very hard, long, drawn-out close process. We like to turn it on its head. And I think that the lesson that I'd like to, or the advice that I would give you going forward into new prospects is qualify hard. And not everybody in the world is a good fit for you, Robert. Some people haven't got the money and the investment to pay your price. They haven't got it. And your job, I believe, as a salesman, is a sorting job. I believe all salespeople have a very strong element of their role, which is sorting. Sorting means you are sorting prospects that are qualified versus prospects that are not qualified. Qualification is absolutely crucial to a sales process, and a salesman's job is to sort out who has got an issue that I can solve. Who has got, and that issue is important to them, important enough for them to take action, important enough for them to really make a decision and to understand the process that's involved in making a decision. So that's qualification number one. Importantly, in this case, qualification number two. Who's got the investment available? Investment can look like a number of things. It nearly always includes money. There's usually, in fact, I always think of investment as a triangle. Let me take this off and show you what an investment triangle looks like. Investment has always got, or nearly always got, a financial component. This is our investment triangle. There's nearly always a financial component. There is very often a time component. Because usually when somebody's dealing with a prospect, if they're going to go and do something new, implement a new system, buy a new piece of kit, there's usually an investment of time that they're going to put behind adopting the solution, bringing the solution on board. There's usually a time solution. There's usually a dollar solution, a part of the investment, and then there's usually another piece. That other piece can sometimes be political capital. Political capital or relationship capital. If you're dealing with a manager maybe in one of your prospect companies who needs to go to a board to get investment approval, then they have to invest political capital into your solution. Or they may have to invest in relationship capital. If you're the kind of person, Robert, I don't know what it is you do, but even if you're selling pots and pans in living rooms, there's a relationship capital. If you're selling to one partner of a marriage and they've got to seek approval from another partner of the marriage, that's a relationship capital. Sometimes it's about comfort. You know, if somebody, even if you're selling gym programs and you've got a prospect who comes to you and says, hey, tell me about how much money this is going to cost, that's never the whole solution. There's a money part of it. There's a time element, because just paying the money for the gym doesn't get anybody fit. There's time that's got to be spent in the gym, and then there's a comfort factor. Is the pain of change greater than the pain of staying the same? Are they prepared to invest that comfort? Prospects always like to hone in on this piece. It's very rarely that's where the big problem lies. The big problem can often lie in these two elements. And so in your qualification process and in my qualification process, I like to identify what are the various dimensions of investment that are required. And I think that it could be, Robert, unfortunately, the prospect that you're talking about, the one that you're talking about in this question, might not have the investment available. If the prospect doesn't have the investment to pay your price, then maybe they're not a good prospect. And maybe as a salesman, your job is to sort good prospects from bad prospects, and maybe you need to sort this one out. There's a third level of qualification, which is about decision making. Can you live with the decision making process? Have you even understood the client's decision making process, the prospect's decision making process? But that's an aside. I believe that good salespeople have an early conversation about pain, problems, an early conversation about investment, and an early conversation about the decision-making process. And it is a qualification question. These are qualification questions, and the salesman has to truly believe that they're on a hunt. And I am trying to unearth people that are not good fits. To get through that first initial discovery meeting, I'm trying to unearth, is this person a good fit? And if there's too much pushback on the whatever corner of the investment, you talked about dollars, it's where prospects always like to go, because they don't really understand what they're doing. Because if there isn't enough dollars there, maybe it's not a good prospect. As an advice going forward to you, what to do with this, if it was my prospect, Robert, I would have a very clear and frank and honest but nurturing conversation with this prospect. And I would say something along the lines of, George, I got a sense from our last meeting you were uncomfortable with the investment required to move forward with my company. Completely understand it. We're not a great fit for everyone. I believe that we provide excellent value to our market, but I got a strong sense that it wasn't a good fit with your investment criteria. Talk to me about that, because I'd hate to waste your time in the next meeting. And if that prospect is serious, they're not going to let you go. If that prospect is just after a great deal, just after chipping your price, then they're not going to let you go. And if this prospect really does have an issue on the pricing, well then I believe that might not be a good fit. That comprehensive?
Yeah.
Did you have anything to add?
I do. I have a couple of things to add. Yeah, that was great. But Robert, I'd also say this, and just want to give you like a bit of a technique that going forward you can use. So as Carlos said, it's all about the qualification piece. You know, you are now where you are because of things that were done earlier, or not done perhaps. And the challenge, I think, is when people start chipping you on price, negotiating on price. As Carlos said, the problem is that they're using price as the selection criteria to determine who gets the gig, who gets the business, right? So early on, here's a little technique that if you can start to introduce this into your early conversations, those first discovery meetings that we're talking about, you need to learn how to say some form of, hey, listen, what's the prospect, George? Hey, listen, George, help me understand something before we get any further. What selection criteria are you going to be using when deciding who you're going to give this business to? Now, let's just think about that for 1 second. What selection criteria are you going to be using when deciding who to give this business to? If the guy says price, it's price only, well, you know up front, now you've got a decision to make. Do you want that business at any price? Are you desperate for George's business? And this is now your decision to make. So you are deciding whether or not that George qualifies for any more of your time, effort and attention. It could be geography, it could be, as Carla says, it could be something to do with you can deliver more quickly, it could be something to do with relationship. There's a million things, but find out early what selection criteria your prospect is going to use, and then you can decide. That's the first thing to say. The second thing to say is, if you don't give George any other reason to choose you over somebody else, then it will come down to price. So how do you, the problem is, and this is an important thing I think for everybody listening, not just for, was it Robert? Mm-hmm. Not just for Robert. For your prospects to recognize you or to think that you're better than somebody else, you have to be different than everybody else, because you cannot be the same and better. So you have to be different from everybody else. If you're not different from all of the other people that he's talking to, you can't be better than them. Does that make sense? So how are some of the ways that you can be different? Well, you can be different because you basically say, you know, we're expensive and we're worth it. You can say, we only deal with certain people at this kind that look like this. This is what our customers look like. These are the terms and conditions that we operate on. And if it's going to come down to a bun fight at the end where it's toe-to-toe fight and he who can discount the most heavily wins the business, maybe that's not what we're about. So you show that you're different. By showing you are different, or rather by not showing that you are different, his only differentiator can be price. So determine early what it is that their selection criteria looks like. You make a decision and make sure that you're not looking, sounding, feeling, smelling, tasting like all of your competitors. Whatever they're doing, stop doing and do something else. When they zig, you zag. Juby, can we just go across to our submarine? So follow me. I don't know if this is going to work, so follow me live. Follow me live. I wonder if there's any nice music we could play. So this is our submarine, okay? So this is kind of our sales process. And what Carlos and I were talking about earlier, you're at the budget step of your process. You're talking about budget. And what we say at Sandler is, if you're having a problem in the budget step, actually your problem isn't at the budget step, and it was just as Carlos said, your problem started earlier. So maybe it was about the pain, maybe it's about the solutions element, maybe you didn't have a strong enough upfront contract and asked the kind of questions that I just talked about and Carlos talked about. Maybe it's a whole bonding and rapport thing. Maybe he doesn't just like you very much, so price can be the only differentiator, right? So think about your sales process. Wherever you are in your process, if you're having problems there, your problem was probably earlier on. Okay, I hope that helped. Let's go back to the table. Jog, jog, jog.
I have a final point.
Yeah.
Bring in a final point.
Yeah. I hope that helped.
Okay. Can you read the question out one more time, Julie, because something's stuck in my mind.
Okay.
The end of the question.
How can I close without dropping my price?
Wonderful. And I think that the question in of itself reveals something. If somebody asks me, how can I close without dropping my price? That makes me think that the options are close without dropping or close with dropping. And I think this could be a prospecting issue. I think this could be somebody that I get those questions typically from salespeople whose pipeline is not full enough. Because if your pipeline was full, Robert, I wonder if you would even have the idea of dropping your price in your mind. I think if your pipeline was full of qualified prospects, I think you wouldn't even be considering it. That's my view. That's too tough. That might be too tough.
That was the best answer of the three of them, I think. Well, for me anyway. So I hope that helps, Robert. Do we get another thumbs up?
Thumbs up. Maybe from Robert.
Do we have another one?
Yeah. Cal asks, do you have any tips for someone who wants to start daily journal writing?
Oh, I do.
You do that. I'll go and get a book.
Okay.
Get going.
Journaling. Oh my goodness me, this is a fantastic question from Cal. Let me go back to the whiteboard for a moment. We believe in Sandler that one of the most powerful things that anybody who's trying to build their business development muscles can do is to journal. And I could go into a very, very long and complex discussion about why journaling works. We have 4 minutes, 45 seconds according to Jabelka's magic clock. And so I can't go into that long discussion. I'm going to give you what I believe is powerful daily journaling. And you could, Cal, just open-minded and adopt it, try it, and see if it makes a difference. If you are going to adopt it and try it, Cal, my advice to you would be 66 days. Our scientific studies have shown it takes 66 days to create a habit. And who was it that said, success is not an event, but success is not an event. What is that quote? Success is not an event, but I forget the quote. Success, therefore, is habit. I don't know. Habit is great. 66 days to create a habit. If you're going to adopt it for 66 days. And there's going to be days where you think, not today, it's a weekend, not today, I don't feel well. Rockstar journalers, it's every day. Every day. No exceptions. Every day. And it's so simple. It'll take you 3-4 minutes at the beginning of every day. I do this, Antonio does this. Some of our more successful clients do this. And there is a bright line between those people who don't journal and those people who do journal in terms of their success. Goals. Goals. Sorry, it doesn't start with goals, it starts with grateful. 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 Make a note, 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for every day. Immerse yourself in gratitude at the beginning of the day, gives you a positive outlook for the rest of the day. Grateful. Affirmations. 2 or 3 strong statements about yourself, phrased in the first person, in the present tense, that are strong statements designed to reconnect you with your inner strengths. Goals. If you make a note at the beginning of every day of 2 to 3 goals that you have, it can be a daily goal. It could be a goal for the medium term. Maybe it's this year's goal, and maybe it's a long-term life goal. If you make a note of the goals and you do it on a daily basis, you start to tune that antenna. You know, we have an antenna that filters our world. You know, we get far too much sensory input as human beings. And if we start to tune the antenna, we have a filter that filters out an awful lot of stuff, a lot of this sensory input. And if you tune the antenna, you can start to tune that filter so that opportunities that present themselves are noticed by you rather than ignored by you, filtered out. And then finally, attract. Note 2 to 3 things on a daily basis that you want to attract into your life. And if you do that every morning, grateful for, affirmations, goals, and attract, I believe, and it's 1 page in a book like this. This is our Sandler Success Journal. It says right on the front, grateful, affirmations, goals, attract, which helps people remember. If you were just to fill a page like that, a doubles page, grateful, affirmations, goals, attract, one of those every day takes 5 minutes, 3 minutes. Doing that every morning really does tune the antenna. Anything you want to add to?
Yeah, so I don't know what quotation you were looking for before, but F.H. Alexander says, you cannot determine your future, but you can determine your habits. And your habits determine your future. Because habits are in our own gift, right? So it's 66 days of doing the daily gaga, and that will change your life. Now is the perfect time, right? Because we're just about to start the new year, right? So put a nice journal, doesn't have to be our journal, but a nice journal on your Christmas present list and get going and start. It's perfect timing.
I remember the quote.
Okay.
The quote was, and I can't remember who said it, but they said, success is not an event. Success is what you do every day. Success, therefore, is a habit.
Oh, nice. That's
yeah.
good. Yeah,
What you do every day.
We've got a very few seconds left. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're going to join us next Thursday at 2 Eastern, and continue to support us and tell all your family and friends, and we'll be BFF forever. www.absolute.sandler.com.
And it's goodbye from me.
And it's good night from him. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.